In this lesson, we'll have a look at how to import audio and video files for use within Flash Professional. So here I have an empty document that we're going to want to bring in an audio file. So let's go to File, Import, and we're going to import to Library. Here we're going to choose this audio.mp3 file. And you'll notice we get this little importing progress bar, and now the audio file exists within our library. If we click on that file, we can see a waveform preview, and we'd actually be able to play the file back if desired. In order to actually utilize this audio file, the most direct way to do so is to simply grab the file and drop it onto the stage. You probably didn't really see anything change here, but if you look down into the timeline, we actually have this small red line that's appeared. If I click on that specific frame and go to Properties, we can see that we have a sound panel within the Properties panel here for this particular frame that points to the specific audio file that has been assigned to this frame. It's been assigned because we've dragged it from the library and dropped it onto the composition on this particular frame. And we can actually choose to use none if we want to, or any other audio files that exist within our library. We can switch them out here very easily. We can choose any sort of effects that we want. So these effects mostly have to do with stereo effects or volume effects. So you can see here that we can do fade to right, fade to left, fade in, fade out, or use the left or right channels for each of those. So very basic effects. There is also a little effects editor though. So if we click on that, we can choose from those same effects that we just saw. So if we wanted to see what a fade in actually looked like, we can scrub in and see how that envelope actually does start out down at 0 and then gradually fade in to fade in the audio file itself. If we want, we can preview the file here, we can stop it, and we can even go in and view the entire waveform or go in very closely and so forth. Here we display seconds, and right here are frames. So we can basically toggle between these two. So here in this ruler are marked seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, switching over to frames, frame 400, frame 500, and so on. Hitting OK will preserve these edits in the envelope. The next thing to look at here is sync. So this is pretty important because it dictates exactly how the audio is going to play back. By default, we have event, but we also have start and stop, which of course will start or stop the audio. And we also have stream. Stream is very different from the others because stream will actually tie or bind the audio file to specific frames. So let's say that we chose something else like start. When the playhead hits this, it's going to start the audio, and the audio is not going to stop until the file is done playing. So if we had an animation that was only 10 seconds long, and we had audio that was 10 minutes long, it's going to play that audio for the entire 10 minutes unless we invoke stop on a different frame. However, if we choose to stream, the audio may be 10 minutes long, but if we only have 10 frames of content of animation on our timeline, it'll actually only play up to that particular portion of the file. So swapping over to this other file I've prepared here, video files, and you'll notice there's actually nothing here either. And generally, you're not going to ever want to actually import video into a Flash Professional document. It's much better to play it back from an external location, or even better to stream it using a server. But it's entirely possible to do this. You'd simply go to File, Import, And there's even a special import video dialog that can be popped up here. Here we can select our video file, and it tells us where this file lives. And we can choose whether we want to load external video with a playback component or embed the FLV. We can also choose to point to an RTMP address or an HTTP address for a particular file. But in this case, since it does exist on our local drive, we're going to say load external video with playback component because we don't want to actually embed this in here. We can additionally launch the Adobe Media Encoder here if we want to transcode any specific video files to another format to be more compatible with Flash playback. But we've chosen an MP4 here, which is absolutely fine. So let's hit next. Now we're able to choose our skin for the playback and the color. So that's pretty simple to do. Hit next. And then it tells us some information. It says where it's being imported from, how it's going to be played back. It tells us about our video component that will be created for us, the skin, and so on. Let's hit finish and see what happens. Alright, so it's actually gone through and it's placed an instance of the video on the stage for us. And it's also allowed a number of different parameters to be exposed here. And these are all parameters that have to do with the playback of the video. Now you don't necessarily have to use the inbuilt component when playing back video within Flash Professional. You can write your own action script to do this yourself, or you can even go through and use a number of the different other components that are available out there for video playback. In fact, if we look in our library panel, we can see the FLV playback component exists right here. So in this lesson, we've seen how to import audio and video files into Flash Professional.